Hello guys, happy Saturday. I'm back and yeah, we're in November, it's just here we go, a few more weeks and the C word is happening. I already saw decorations in Tesco's and stuff. Anyway, here we go, starting November with very interesting subject. And actually subject I've been asked to talk about, which is very exciting because I love when you guys communicate with me and when you tell me what you actually want me to talk about and what's interesting to you and what subjects you want me to present. So today we're going to be talking about hypervigilance, what it is, how it affects people, what are the symptoms, what can be done about it, but also, how common is it, and is it something that could happen to you or to your loved ones? So I think I'll start with what it is. So hypervigilance, the clue is in the name. It's when you kind of over alert state for prolonged periods of times. So obviously being vigilant, being alert has its benefits when you're working through a dark alley or at night, or you're kind of in a war zone or in some kind of overly dangerous situation. Then of course being on high alert, being vigilant is really important, and it's there to help you to survive. Basically what you engage is the kind of fight or flight response. So it's your body goes under very high stress, your adrenaline goes up, all the kind of reactions that I've described before of when you're running on adrenaline, all the blood goes to the vital organs, vital organs like heart and lungs, but also it goes to extremities, to your hands, legs, to kind of get, be able to fight, be able to run away if necessary. So your digestion will likely suffer because that's where your blood is not necessary at the time. It's that the kind of physiological aspects of it. Obviously the mental aspect of it is that you are on alert, little things will make you jump because you're kind of always expecting a danger. So this is the kind of just a sum up of what it is that the hypervigilant state. It is a state of high alert. And as I said, it's okay if it's appropriate and if you're in a situation where it's required. When it can become a problem is when there is no particular reason for it that's obvious. So let's say you're walking down the street in daylight, doing your normal shopping, and you jump in at every person and walk past, you're constantly looking around, always awaiting a danger. So it can be kind of physical, you feel jumpy. It's like whoever brushes past you, touches you, immediately expecting an attack. So that's one aspect. Loud bangs, loud noises, unexpected noises. Someone drops something. Someone bangs door, a car door or something, and it makes you jump. Makes you something that perhaps normally you wouldn't even notice if it's just background noise, suddenly becomes, it gets your heart going and you feel really kind of high on alert. But also can be more internal, so it's kind of like constant worrying, your mind just constantly keeps going. And worrying about negative stuff, so your mind latches onto all these things that could possibly go wrong, and then goes on a loop and keeps thinking about it. So you kind of become more alert to things that, you're really truly imagining, they haven't come to pass yet, it's in the future. The possibility that they will come to pass, it's often quite minimal, but you kind of latch onto it and it's really hard not to focus on it. One example I've had was one of my clients came to me really stressed out. She was crying and was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna die of cancer. That was her first word. As soon as she came in, it's like, my life is shit, I'm dying of cancer. And as we unpicked it, what actually happened was she found a lump on her breast that was slightly painful, and she didn't know what it was. She didn't see a doctor yet. It literally happened just shortly before she saw me. And her mind just completely spiraled into, this is the worst case scenario, and this is it, I'm dying. Obviously, we worked on it, I reassured her, and we found ways of looking at it differently and different perspectives and so forth, and did some breathing exercises. She made an appointment with a doctor, and she's completely fine, and there is no cancer at all, and she, it was just pulled muscle, which can happen. It's just one of those things that sometimes you just wake up and muscle gets caught in a rib or something, and it's painful. And it goes a little bit inflamed. That's why it was a lump. But there was an explanation. It wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't kind of life or death. But her mind immediately went to the worst case scenario. And the thing is, she doesn't think about just that one thing like that. Everything that happens is immediately something that's the worst case scenario. If there's a loud bang, that's someone shooting at her. If there is something going on with her body, she's immediately having the worst symptoms of the worst diseases. And she's very good with Google, so diseases you never even heard of, she will find them, and she'll definitely have them. So her mind completely latches constantly on the most negative outcomes possible it can find. And of course that causes extreme anxiety. When this happens every so often, and it can happen to every of us, when we're tired, when we're stressed, we can kind of get a bit jumpy, and our mind can kind of go to crazy places. But we tend to have a good night's sleep, and the next day we kind of like literally slept on it, and we feel better, and we go back to our normal way of thinking. However, there are certain conditions that can make this a bit more chronic, a bit more permanent, a bit more constant. So the main causes tend to be post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, paranoia, extreme tiredness, and of course, with schizophrenia, it's kind of physiological condition. There's been research done that actually there is changes, there are physical changes in your brain that can cause it. And one of the symptoms can be paranoia, and of course that causes hypervigilance. So it's one of the kind of the extreme cases. Paranoia on its own as well, it's a serious mental health condition, and again, when you diagnose, it's one of the extreme cases. What tends to be more common is post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, with that, there is a slight misconception, is that is something that just happens to like war veterans or police officers, or someone who has been in extreme violent attack, rape victims and things like that. And of course, yes, it completely applies to this situation, to these people. But what we don't realize is that we can have post-traumatic stress disorder from situations that are not so obvious. It's basically from anything that caused us severe distress. So it can be a loved one dying, or a loved one being really ill. It can be, finding ourselves, for example, locked in a lift for a prolonged period of time, feeling claustrophobic, feeling like we can't escape. That also can be kind of metaphorical. So when we, for example, find ourselves to be kind of locked in a situation, whether it's a job we hate but can't leave because we have a mortgage to pay, or relationship that is suffocating us, but it's not overtly abusive, but it's just we feel like we can't get out because we have children or whatever. That can actually cause us, it can be a traumatic experience and cause us post-traumatic stress. Another can be when we're in a caring position, so when we're caring for our loved ones, whether it's our partner, our mother, our father, children, when they especially in the severely ill, like when they have, let's say, cancer or some disability or dementia, with Alzheimer's and so forth. When, in the kind of extreme cases, when they demand a lot of our attention, we kind of put our life on hold for them. That can feel quite, you can feel quite trapped in that situation, as in you can't have a life. And although it's your choice, you want to look after your loved one, it still can be quite traumatic experience from the point of view of having to do this, and it's exhausting and it's tiring, but also the stress of seeing your loved one to suffer, that's very traumatic in itself. Seeing them going through really difficult situations, quite often, let's say it's a person with dementia, they kind of don't even recognize you and can be abusive and aggressive, and to having to deal with that on a daily basis, and especially if you saw carer 24 hours, that's extremely traumatic experience. That's not necessarily obvious to the outside world. They just see you as a kind person who just gets on with it, and as a strong person and admire you, but they don't really see that actually it can have the same effect as being in a war zone and being shot at. And obviously when you're caring for someone, whether it's a little baby, that that's a bit ill and you kind of every cry wakes you up, or whether it's your elderly mother that you're kind of constantly waiting, for the noise that signals her fall or her cry that something's not right, that she's in pain. She's constantly on alert. And as you're going through this situation, that function is actually necessary. You need to be on alert. You need to be there for those people because they have no one else. So actually at the time, that's functional. But then let's say that your loved one gets better. They recover. Things start to go back to normal. Now, that's when things can become difficult for you to get back to normal, because you've been, let's say, for years sometimes, quite often months or years, on high alert, constantly listening out, watching out for signs of danger or what can go wrong, and being prepared to respond in a calm manner to situations that are quite extreme. And suddenly you kind of meant to go back to normal life. It can be really hard for the mind and the body to adjust and to kind of drop those responses. So because it's, you can actually develop serious medical conditions through this, and then medical help and medication is probably the best course of action to start with, alongside therapy. But if it's literally just you can't shut that alert system off, therapy can be really helpful in kind of unlocking the traumas, healing the traumas from the past, as well as kind of helping you to find ways of how to calm that alert state. So of course I will advocate NLP hypnotherapy. I feel it's very helpful in these kind of situations, but there are other ways. This CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, can be very effective as well. They have some good results with that. Mindfulness, of course, learning how not to react but to respond. So when there is that loud bang, to learn how not to jump up but to kind of first take a deep breath in and reconsider, look around, assess the situation before going into response. That takes practice, that takes training. You literally need to retrain your mind and body. The way you retrain them initially, you retrain them to become high on alert, so now you need to train them to become lower on alert, so it becomes a little bit more manageable. Because of course, when you're constantly on a high alert, your adrenaline is constantly going around your body, or even cortisol, like these hormones that make you like, eventually you exhaust yourself, you'll just run yourself to the ground, and it can cause you other health issues, and people often have, like, after these highs of they get massive lows and drops, and it can cause really deep depression as well, because you're just numbing yourself down basically to just shut the world out because you just can't go on anymore. It's too exhausting. So definitely when it comes to coping mechanisms, breathing exercises, meditation, because meditation, it's not like it's a fix for all, and it's not like when something's happening that startles you that you go into meditative state and suddenly everything's going to be okay. No, it's practicing meditation when you feel safe. So you practice that state of being peaceful and being kind of aware of your surroundings, being in a moment and being able to just take things as they come without reacting to them. When you learn, kind of by practice, when you learn how to do it, it becomes easier and easier to then do that in your everyday life, to when you leave your home, when you kind of, in that position where you might be in a situation that causes you feeling alert. You've trained your mind to respond instead of react already. So practicing mindfulness is really, really helpful. If you're not sure, if you're not very experienced in that, there's so many people out there now teaching mindfulness, so many courses. You can do one-to-ones, you can do group sessions, you can do it online. We can watch YouTube videos, like whatever helps, whatever is your way of learning, whatever you feel is more suitable to your lifestyle at the moment. Mindfulness is definitely a way forward. Breathing exercises is the simplest, like when you do find yourself already alert, so you've already got that kind of scare feeling of the door bang and your heart's going. The best thing to do in that moment is when you realize, oh my God, I'm again in that mode. Take a few deep breaths, like really, really deep into your belly. Really feel your belly, your chest, like the breath literally fills your whole body. And just do that a few times, really nice. So you want your out breath be longer than your in breath. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and just nice. And it really kind of brings that kind of a command to your mind and body. Everything's okay, and I'm breathing slowly. And while you're doing that, just take stock of what's around you. So name 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can feel on your body. So like I can feel my clothes, I can feel my shoes, I can feel the wind on my face. 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And that really, when you do that, it really brings you into the now, and it makes you aware of what's around you, that actually you are safe. And, in the 1 in a million chances that actually you're not safe, you still be able to respond and get that response of running away or fighting or doing whatever is necessary. So, you're still in a safe position, because all this awareness, this coming in, this taking our surroundings in, are, it takes seconds. It's very, no longer than a minute. And the likelihood that you find yourself in a situation where you actually just need to duck, it's going to happen before you have time to think about it. You will do that first. It's a reaction. It's like it comes from the amygdala, comes from the back of our head, literally from the limbic brain, and it just goes, I had a bang, duck. It's when you duck, it's after you've done it, when you in that safe position, is then calm yourself down so you can respond calmly and logically. Unfortunately, when it comes to the hypervigilance, it can spiral out of control if it's not managed. And as I said, it can lead to severe conditions like paranoia and schizophrenia, because our brain starts justifying our behavior. And quite often it does that with creating reality that's not there. So we're really talking extreme cases here, when people literally imagine things. They imagine voices, they imagine situations to justify how they feel. it's not something they do consciously, it's not something they're aware of, it just happens subconsciously for them. It's how the mind works. It's always looking for reasons, always looking for evidence, and it does anything to find it. And if you're on high alert, the mind can't see anything around it, it will make something up. So awareness is really, really important tool here, being aware of what's happening for you, how you're feeling, understanding what is happening to you, and that it is just a feeling and that you can change it and you can work with it. And if you find that you've gone through some situation that you perhaps even not consider as trauma, but now listening to this, you realize, and actually, yes, that has affected me probably in ways that I didn't realize. And I am hypervigilant to some level. I worry all the time, or I get really panicky about things and kind of go to kind of really high anxiety situations quite often. If you feel that's you or it's someone you know, and you find that just simple mindfulness courses and stuff not working, that you feel like you need something more, please do talk to me. Give me a call. Let's have a chat about what exactly is going on for you, and if I'm the right fit for you to help you. And if I'm not, then I will recommend someone who perhaps can. And there's lots of charities as well that offer help and counseling, and I will post some links on a post afterwards. But there's always friend Google, and there's really lots of places that offer help when it comes to hypervigilance and anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder, on, of course, even the more severe conditions. Because if you have any questions, if you have your own stories, your own experience, if anything's unclear about what I've talked about, anything you'd like to add, anything you feel that actually was incorrect, please let me know. Comment, message me, text me, whatever. I obviously find this really fascinating. I want to help as many people as I can. So the more I know about it, the better. But also, if there's something I can do for you, let me know, and I'll do it with pleasure. Now, this is it for today. Do get in touch if this has touched you in any way and is anything that you need help with. I also, apart from the NLP hypnotherapy, do massage and pregnancy massage, and I teach massage, and I run a membership scheme where I help people with their well-being specifically for them. Also offers discounts for the treatments I offer. Doing some charity. Actually, I'll be going live later on, introducing myself on our new platform called SOS Community. I will share some links later as well, that focuses on shades of violence and bringing light to the shades of violence, bringing solutions to violence in our society. And the focus is quite a lot on domestic violence, but it's not just about domestic. It's kind of violence in general in our society, and how it affects us, how it's still around us, and what we can do about it. So it's something that you're interested in, and you think you find it helpful, then please like our page, it's SOS Community, and see if you want to join us in bringing solutions. Okay, so this is it. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Enjoy the fireworks if you're going to watch some. And I shall see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.